Wendy Williams. They meant to say Gail. But I thought that this was a joke myself. I'm like, nobody needs to shed tears for me. I got this on lock. More believable than her being the national spokesperson for a diet program. Oh, please. Oh, please. Every time I see the commercials, I'm like, oh, please.
Special was really important to me, and I wanted to be able to talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. And Weight Watchers is now in the business of being a weight health company that also administers medications for weight. I did not want to have the appearance of any conflict of interest.
I see.
And so I resigned from the board, and I donated all of my shares to the National Museum of African. Took on the shame that the world gave to me. For 25 years, making fun of my weight was national.
I actually went back on Ozempic because I hated how much weight I had regained, and my doctors gave it to me. They said, okay, well, we're gonna monitor you more closely this time. And after 2 months, I had pancreatitis again. It made me realize, like, okay, this medication is harmful.
For me to be able to see you, to sit in the seat of your life on your own show with your name on it, it is the passing on.
Thank you so
It is the
much.
passing on.
So you officially passing the baton
I'm
on to
passing the baton.
You know, R. Kelly got interviewed. Everyone's gonna want to talk to Bill Cosby just to get his side of the story.
I believe Oprah's the only one who'd stoop to that level.
You never know, man. It's thirsty out here in these streets, and also
The internet doesn't usually pause for anything, but it definitely paused for Oprah Winfrey at Paris Fashion Week. Because yes, she looked incredible, snatched, styled, glowing, but within seconds, the conversation took a sharp turn. People weren't just watching what she wore, they were watching how she walked. And suddenly, what should have been a flawless fashion moment turned into a full-blown debate. Was it just an off day? A tricky pair of heels? Or is there something deeper going on behind that dramatic transformation? Because when stunning and concerning show up in the same sentence, you already know the internet is about to spiral. Let's talk about that moment, because visually, everything was giving luxury. The hair? Immaculate. The outfit? Tailored, elevated, effortlessly expensive. And the weight loss? Noticeable, dramatic even. Oprah stepped out looking like she had fully stepped into a new era of herself. And at first glance, it was all admiration. But then came the walk. Subtle at first, but impossible to ignore once you saw it. Slight stiffness, careful S, almost like every step required extra effort. And just like that, the tone online shifted. Social media lit up with reactions. Some people praising her glow up, others asking why she looked like she was in discomfort. Comments ranged from, she looks amazing, to something doesn't feel right. And when the internet starts analyzing body language frame by frame, you know it's no longer just about fashion. It's about speculation. And that's where the real conversation kicks in, because it didn't take long for people to connect the dots to the ongoing buzz around weight loss injections. No one's confirming anything outright, but the whispers are loud. Some fans are defending her, saying if she feels healthier and happier, that's all that matters. Others are raising eyebrows, questioning whether the results are coming at a cost. And that's the tricky part, because in today's culture, rapid transformations don't just get celebrated, they get investigated. Is this a case of modern medicine doing what it's designed to do, or is this another example of something working a little too well until it doesn't? Nobody's saying it outright, but the undertone is there. When does transformation cross into too far? Now here's where things get even more interesting, because if there's one person people wish would weigh in on this, it's Wendy Williams. Let's be real. Wendy built an entire career off saying exactly what everyone else was too polite to say, and Oprah has never been off limits. In fact, she's one of the very few celebrities Wendy consistently side-eyed without hesitation. And even though Wendy hasn't publicly jumped into this specific moment, people are already filling in the blanks. You can practically hear her voice, questioning the extremes, calling out the contradictions, and maybe even throwing in a little "I told you so" energy. Because if there's drama, if there's mystery, and if Oprah is involved, Wendy would have had a field day. And to understand why people are so quick to imagine Wendy's reaction, you have to go back. This isn't new tension, it's layered. Wendy has openly questioned Oprah's moves before, especially when it came to her role with Weight Watchers. She didn't just critique it, she dismissed it repeatedly with that signature disbelief that made her audience lean in. Meanwhile, Oprah was building a business narrative around wellness, discipline, and long-term health. Fast forward to her stepping away from that role, donating her shares, and shifting her messaging, and suddenly, everything feels like it's evolved. But for critics, that evolution raises questions. Was it growth, or was it strategy? And Wendy has always been the type to ask exactly that. At the same time, there's another side to this story that often gets lost in the noise: Oprah's own voice. Because behind the headlines and the speculation is someone who has spent decades being scrutinized for her body. She's been open about it. The shame, the pressure, the public commentary that followed her for years. And when she talks about her weight journey, it's not from a place of trend chasing. It's from lived experience. She's described finally understanding the science behind weight, letting go of self-blame, and seeing medical support as a legitimate tool rather than a shortcut. For her, it's not about perfection. It's about control, stability, and relief after years of feeling judged. And that's what makes this entire moment so complicated. Because on one hand, you have a woman reclaiming her narrative and using every resource available to her. On the other, you have a public that's watching closely, questioning everything, and wondering if the transformation comes with a hidden cost. Add in the ghost of what Wendy Williams might say, and suddenly this isn't just about a viral video anymore. It's about perception, history, and the fine line between admiration and concern. But here's where things really start to split, because the conversation around Oprah Winfrey isn't just curiosity anymore. It's turning into full-on backlash. The moment she began openly discussing and, in some ways, defending the use of weight loss injections, the tone shifted. For some, it felt honest and refreshing, like finally acknowledging that weight struggles aren't always solved by willpower alone. But for others, it raised a serious question about influence and responsibility. When someone with Oprah's reach speaks on something like this, is it empowerment or promotion? That's where critics start to get louder, arguing that highlighting the benefits without equally amplifying the risks creates a dangerous imbalance. Because while the results might look good on the surface, there are growing concerns about side effects, stories floating around about complications, long-term health risks, and people having very different experiences behind the scenes. And just like that, the audience is divided right down the middle. One side saying, "Let her live, she looks amazing," and the other asking, "At what cost?" And once that seed of doubt is planted, everything starts getting re-examined. Suddenly, past moments don't feel so unrelated anymore. Remember when Oprah had to miss that scheduled appearance and reports came out that she had been hospitalized with a stomach issue? At the time, it was explained as a virus, dehydration, something relatively common and manageable. But now, people are circling back, connecting dots that may or may not even be there. That's how quickly the narrative shifts. One viral clip, one visible change, and suddenly every past health scare gets pulled into the conversation. Was it really just a coincidence, or was it something more? No one's confirming anything, but that hasn't stopped the speculation from spreading. Because once the public starts questioning, it doesn't stop at the present. It rewrites the past too. And layered on top of all this is a tension that's been quietly building for years. The dynamic between Oprah and Wendy Williams. These two were never exactly aligned, and moments like this only remind people of that underlying disconnect. Especially when you look back at that symbolic passing the baton moment, when Oprah publicly embraced Sherri Shepherd instead of someone like Wendy, whom many felt had already proven herself in the talk show space. That decision didn't go unnoticed. For a lot of viewers, it reinforced a long-standing suspicion that Oprah simply never supported Wendy in the way she supported others. And in an industry where endorsement from someone like Oprah can shape careers, that silence spoke volumes. Which brings us back to why Wendy's name keeps coming up in all of this, because she's never played by those unspoken rules. While most celebrities tiptoe around Oprah with careful praise and polished diplomacy, Wendy built her brand on doing the exact opposite. She questioned, she challenged, she called things out in real time, even when it made people uncomfortable. Whether it was side-eyeing Oprah's business moves, criticizing who she associated with, or predicting controversies before they fully unfolded, Wendy positioned herself as the outsider voice in a space that usually rewards silence. And that's why people feel her absence so strongly now, because this is exactly the kind of story she would have dissected without hesitation. But zoom out for a second, and this stops being just about Oprah or Wendy. This is about the culture surrounding them. Because celebrity transformations don't happen in a vacuum. They happen under a microscope. Every pound lost, every appearance, every step gets analyzed, praised, and criticized all at once. And when the transformation is dramatic, the pressure doubles. On one side, there's admiration, the idea of reinvention, control, evolution. On the other, there's suspicion, questions about authenticity, sustainability, and the hidden toll it might take. In a world where public figures are expected to be both aspirational and transparent, that balance becomes almost impossible to maintain. So now the real question isn't just about what people saw in that Paris clip. It's about how we choose to interpret it. Are we witnessing someone confidently stepping into a healthier version of themselves, using every tool available? Or are we watching a transformation that's starting to raise red flags, even if no one can fully prove why? And maybe the bigger question is this. When it comes to celebrities and their bodies, are we being supportive, or are we just waiting for something to go wrong?